Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am very much honored to be invited by Parviz Vandal Foundation and in the jury of this foundation. And as we concluded our transactions yesterday, and today I have an opportunity to share some experiences of mine with you. I thank also Lahore Union of Architects for hosting this event. My lecture will not be anything very theoretical, will not be anything very serious. It is the sort of experience from life, and it is a bouquet of flowers, a bunch of flowers of premiated architects and premiated buildings across the world. And as I composed it last night, at some point I got tired and I got it there. That is 158 slide, and that is to keep the opportunity of coming back here, okay? And the first award which took us by a tremendous surprise was the Pritzker Award. At that time when it was launched by J. Pritzker, here you see him with Alhamra and his wife Cindy, and after his death his son Tom is running the award. And the award idea was given to him by, or the family, by Philip Johnson. And Philip Johnson gave the idea of the award, and he received the first award. And we all said, ha ha ha. And because he was a man of adventure and pioneering man with many ideas. You know, he is the one who also was associated with Philip Johnson, and he also went along with most of the current movements, including postmodernity and whatever. And he was both very active, flamboyant, and protective of the young talent. That's much better, thank you. And his influence or expertise with Mies van der Rohe gave this building to us, but he also added, allowed actually various art forms to take place in his residence, and this is the art of cloud taking place in his house in New Canaan. And his guest house or his bedroom is particularly austere building, just in opposite expression to what he had. And the Pritzker Prize award ceremony was conducted early this year, and they sort of had a 1 minute of silence in memory of Zaha Hadid. And the laureates for this cycle were 3 architects: RCR from Spain, and they were particularly in line with a very modest architectural expressions and using natural materials and in some creative forms. And RIBA gold medal is the other important architectural recognition, and it started in the middle of the 19th century. And first award was given to Charles Robert Cockerell, and then every year RIBA award was given. Cockerell was the architect of many important buildings in Great Britain, but he also was a visionary, and you can see in this engraving he compared and put all the important buildings together to give an idea of architecture to the wider public, where he built sort of decent buildings in neoclassical style in Great Britain. And since then, award was given to, after mid-19th century, it was given to Zaha Hadid, Frank Gehry, Norman Foster, Charles Correa. And especially Charles Correa, when he was given this award, it was the first award outside United Kingdom and recognizing the talent worldwide. And then many other people followed that, among which Oscar Niemeyer can be mentioned. This may be a news for you. This is 2018 award given to Neil Brown. He was born in 1929, and he did this housing estate, you will very well remember, in Camden Town. And this was a sort of modern approach to the terrace housing of England, which was more or less the most pervasive form of provisional housing. You know, the British didn't like to live in a stack of blocks. They always wanted to have their feet on the ground, and he wanted to keep that, and also by turning his back to the sort of busy traffic, and he gave a calm streetscape. And we always liked it, and we never knew that this person has ever been recognized, but it came with a very pleasant surprise this year that he will get the award next year. An AIA gold medal is also important and particularly very coveted award, and it was given to the people who take place in the architectural history very strongly. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright, Le Corbusier, IMP, Tom Main, Moshe Safdie, Robert Venturi, and all these people got the AIA gold medal. So these awards are given to the lifetime accomplishment of the people, where some of the awards are not like that, that we will come into that. And Paul Williams got the AIA medal, gold medal, unfortunately after his death, but he was recognized. You will remember his Los Angeles airport. The other important award, which we have been discussing under the realm of Pervez Vandal Awards, Premium Imperiale, that is given in the honor of Prince Takamatsu. He was a very learned man and protector of arts, and it was given to every year to various forms of art. On one hand we have painting, sculpture, on the other hand we have film. And so they're all bunched together, and the Premium Imperiale is the award that has been very, very influential and distinguished. And again, from our part of the world, Charles Correa was the one who got this award. And Mendes de Rocha, he had the Premium Imperiale, then the Pritzker, and then Arabia Gold Medal. He's more or less going in line with Charles Correa and bagging all these awards. And Dominique Perrault got it in 2015. Stephen Hall has got it in 2016. And Henning Larsen in 2012. And all these people have been recognized at the maturity of their lives, fortunately. So it's a very careful award to put influence onto that. And Zaha Hadid has got it in 2009. And in 2011, Ricardo Legoretta has got it. And Legoretta, you know, is more or less in line with Luis Barragan, and he had the Mexican modern expression with vast surfaces and warm walls and divisions and austere definition of spaces. And he did, unlike Barragan, he did many public buildings, even motor car factories and campuses and educational buildings. And in the Premium Imperiale, of course, one of the big hits was Sophia Loren when she got the award in 2010. And you can see her, she is now almost 81 years old, but still, you know, Sophia Loren, and she she contributed to the award as much as the award contributed to her. And the European Union Mies van der Rohe Award was given at the Mies van der Rohe Pavilion in Barcelona, and jury is international, and nominations are done by a network of people identified by the award management. And first it was given in 1988, and with this one the architect and the building were recognized together. So this time the medal goes particularly to the building alongside with the architect. Architect, of course, is the maker of it, but the contenders are the buildings. In 1999, you know, one of the breakthrough in airport design by Lord Norman Foster was the winner. And in 1992, the stadium, Badalona Stadium in Barcelona, was the winner. And in 1994, Nick Grimshaw, with the terminal of Channel Tunnel or Channel Train, he got the award for his terminal at the Victoria Station. And you can see how he treated the train lines culminating in a building with a high technology of appreciation of new age. In 1996, Dominique Perrault got with his National Library in Paris. You know, Dominique Perrault was, I think, in his late 20s when he got this commission. Nobody knew him, and the award was given by a jury, but the final decision was made by François Mitterrand. And François Mitterrand, being protector and admirer of architecture, he had a good advice. He used to ask the jury, present him 2-3 projects, and he was selecting one, but not personally. He had very close friendship with IMP, and he was flying IMP in, IMP being a French-speaking architect, and he had in his background French culture, and they were discussing all through the night and deciding at the end. So Picasso Museum and Tête la Défense, and in the end Bibliothèque Nationale was the products of his Grand Projet, it was called, and probably he was the most important political leader who was conversant with the art of architecture and wanted to leave milestones of architecture in Paris. He was very courageous, and you know, he also personally ordered the pyramid in Louvre, and there was a big debate about it, and his protection was very simple. He said, look, I'm running this country, can't I have one building that I like? And that was wonderful. And Peter Zumthor, you will know, and he was discovered by architectural circles very late in his accomplishment. He was not a trained architect, he was a carpenter, but he knew the materials, he took everything with a tremendous care together, and then he became one of the superstars of architecture. And in 2002, European prize went to Rafael Moneo of Harvard, and he had a building which is more or less translucent altogether, so the light comes through the infiltration of the very special walling around the building. And then later, Maximiliana Fuxas, with his wife Doriana, got the Zenith Music Hall in Strasbourg. And Norwegian Opera and Ballet House in Oslo was also a follower to these European Union prizes. And later went to sort of more socially concerned projects, and the award was given to Library of Senior Citizens, again in Barcelona. And this is wrong slide, anyway. Then in 2003, the car park and terminus in Hohenheim by Zaha Hadid in Strasbourg was given the award. And Zaha Hadid, with very simple structure, she put together the train station and the car park into a sort of very dramatic, artful experience with her slanted columns and inclined surfaces, and which became more or less a theme in almost every student project. You know, they forgot doing straight columns and started to do that. And in 2005 awards, I was in the jury with Stefano Gauri, Aaron Betsy, Muslim Mustafa, Willy Francis Lambert, and Kazuo Sejima of Sana. And at that time, the director was Luis Hortet, and chair was Rahab Zaha Hadid. And the procedure is very interesting. The jury meets together and shortlists the 5 projects. Then a couple of months later, the jury comes together in a very tight and very well-organized schedule and visits the project, the 5 of them, one by one, and discusses the merits of each and every project there. That is also a source of wonderful friendship and discussion of ideas and expressions in the most sincere and most open sense. Of course, there are social events like I have been enjoying here the last 2-3 days, and I keep on enjoying that. Dinners and the other gatherings are also important. And the first building we reviewed was Norman Foster's insurance building in London. And second was the Braga Municipal Museum, which it has been anchored to rocks in a very strong and elegant way. They didn't touch the rocks, they just anchored the structure into the rocks and made the tribunes held by that. And also, again, a Spanish architect, Elias Torres Tur, he did this Esplanada del Forum, near the Forum of Barcelona, just on top of the sewage treatment plant. He had this canopy as providing shade, shadow, and collecting solar energy. And it became a landmark of Barcelona in no time. And you remember this late young Kapitschki and Amanda Levet project in the Selfridges department store. And that was among the shortlisting projects, and very impressive, basically unforeseen expressions. But the interior we found rather cluttered and crowded with these walkways and escalators, but altogether, at least one can say, a very interesting building. So we decided to give the award to Ramkulas with Alan Van Loon, and that was the Netherlands Embassy in Berlin. And the planned solution is more or less like Zaha Hadid's Cardiff Opera House. It is, putting everything into one line, as if it's a line of laundry, then rolling around. So the building is circulating from outside. All the functions are inside, stacked one on top of the other. Very, very creative solution altogether. And of course, we then discovered that Andy Warhol did portraits of the Queen years ago, and they are all displayed there. And this is Ram Koolhaas's gimmick, that a conference room which can never be eavesdropped. No one can listen to anything because the room is projected out and there is no other surrounding walls or anything. And that was a big sort of joke in the architectural circles for many, many years. Everyone is associated with something else. The other award we have is to a person, again with his architecture, but more as a person, is Hassan Fethi Award. Hassan Fethi was born in 1900, and he was the biggest opponent of modern movement. and to an extent that even his drawings were more or less like pharaonic miniatures of some sort, and he did scores of this, and after his death he donated these, actually before his death, donated this to Aga Khan Award for Architecture, where he got the chairman's prize. But we didn't want to take it out to Egypt, so we left it in the rare books collection of AUC, American University in Cairo. They are well protected and kept there. Hassan Fathi's mega project was Gurna, and Gurna project, of course, was a big opportunity for him. But the people who are going to be placed here were basically the grave diggers in the Upper Egypt. So they were working at night by digging floors of their own buildings and finding things and selling them. So they never came here. So the whole place was derelict for scores of years, and that was built to Hassan Fathi's lack of success. But in any case, the mosque he did is one of the most original from the point of view of interior spaces and the minaret, and also the modesty of his approach by using mud bricks. Hassan Fathi's dictum is that you don't build on a site, but you build on the site. He says, look at Eskimos, look at the African tribes, look at the Far East dwellers, and everyone does their building the environment from what they have around, not importing. And he was, to an extent, that when I asked him what does he think about reflective glass and glazing, he said that it's very simple. They are so ashamed of their own building, they reflect the others. And he had a great sense of humor. But we all met him in the years of 1960s, 70s, during his tea hours. Every day at 5 o'clock he offers tea. Doors are open, people go there. And you can discuss anything you like. For instance, hats, tall lady with a large hat and high heel shoes, or small lady with a small hat and flat shoes and whatever. He was talking all these architectural terms in the form of fashion and whatever. But he was so strong in his opinion that he divorced his wife upon a quarrel on the music of Johannes Brahms. So a very sophisticated man. This picture, you see him when I invited him when I was in Middle East Technical University, where I met Babar Mumtaz for the first time in 1962. And this is 10 years later. I invited Hassan Fathi, and the Egyptian government opposed that. They said that he's not famous enough. So I had to prove his fame through Architectural Review magazine, and sent it to Turkish mission, and he came. And it was a wonderful time with him, and we discussed many things because he was very generous for sharing his ideas and very talkative altogether. But he didn't go. He came, and the hotel was very expensive. We could only afford a couple of days, and I didn't know what to do. And we said, okay, we'll put Hassan Bey to the student mission we have, travel and explorations. He was very happy. He went with one of the group of students, but the students loved him so dearly, they didn't let him touch the water. So whenever there was sort of problems, they were carrying him on their back across the creeks and rivers, and that was the basis of big friendship. The Aga Khan Award later went to Rifat Chatterjee. Rifat Chatterjee is proponent of post-modernity in Iraq and our part of the world, to an extent that he said that outside of the buildings belong to the public, inside is private, so outside should be in harmony with the rest of the world. And when Saddam Hussein wanted to build his mosque, the biggest ever mosque. And his advisor said that there's only one person who can organize this with international fame. He said, who is he? And they said, Rafat Chaudhry. And he said, then bring him over. They said, we cannot. He said, why? Because he's in jail, you put him in the jail. And he said, he should come, get him out of the jail. And they went to Rafat. These are all not gossip, Rafat himself told me. And they woke him up. He said, I'm not interested. They said, you cannot. I said, this is my resting time. I cannot change. And he said, okay, I'll come in my pajamas. And so first meeting was Rafat Chaudhry in his pajamas with the ruler then of the country. So this is the thing that I think his drawings were displayed in 1964-65 in our university in Ankara. He influenced us tremendously, especially with the quality of his drawings. And this is one of the meetings with Rafat, with Saddam Hussein, explaining the project that was won. And Jeffrey Bawa was the third person who got the Aga Khan Chairman's Award. And unfortunately, that was in the later stages of his life. And I went there and hand-delivered his trophy and his check. But he was very, very frail then. But Jeffrey had this idea of buildings not destroying the nature, absorbing them, and nature in return absorbing the buildings. That kind of idea that he has proposed, and it was in a way great. The only protection of the guests is against monkeys. You cannot, and that's all. Apart from that, and I mysteriously lost my cell phone there, and the hotel management said, "Oh, you must left on the table. Monkeys take it." And so I took that explanation, and he did, major buildings, including the Parliament in Colombo, and the last Chairman's Award, the person went to Oleg Grabar. Oleg Grabar is the author of many, many books, and he is conversant with 6-7 languages, and he reads every document in its original. And he is the person who put Islamic art into the agenda of Western teaching environment, and his father was also a scholar, so he had this tradition of following him. And when it comes to Pakistan, Pakistan had always a very important role in the Aga Khan Award. We had Zahir Raja as the person in master jury, then we had Arif Hassan as master jury and steering committee member. We have Kamil and Mumtaz in the steering committee, and many others. And this is the first group of people you can see on your very left, Hassanuddin Khan, with whom we joined the Aga Khan network together. You can see Nadir Ardalan, Charles Correa in their 40s, 50s, and Renata Holod on the left of Aga Khan and Hassan Fethi. These are the first group of people who set the rules for the Aga Khan Award, which was very simple. The steering committee does sets the conditions and the rule. Master jury independently, without consulting or discussing with the steering committee, selects the projects, distributes the monetary funds, and the office is the link between. So I did that for 25 years. I think what I learned is equivalent of several university degrees, with always the best people of the world. And The first Aga Khan ceremony was conducted in this city, Shalimar Gardens, and it set standards of the ceremony, and it was very difficult for me for years to find comparable spaces. You know, we went to Topkapı Palace in Istanbul, then after that we went to Ubadi Palace in Morocco, then the Citadel in Cairo, and Register Square in Samarkand, and many places of high significance for Muslim history and architecture. And there were posters all over the place introducing the Aga Khan Award. And frankly, at this time I was not associated with the award. You know, I was teaching in Ankara. But I must say that I took the award very seriously when I saw the spectrum of buildings, you know, from restoration to water towers, very wonderful selection of projects. And then during my tenure, we gave an award to Shah Rukn-i Alem, Bhutan, Pakistan. And it was in a derelict state, and it was restored impeccably well, unbelievably well. But the most important thing for us, which has a teaching value for everyone, was that the whole place, whole restoration process, I should say, was used as a school of restoration. Letting people learn handcrafts and apply them and perpetuate them. And the jury made a very funny decision and distributed the money in the form of, you know, $500, $700 or whatever significance. We could never find the guys to give their money because some of them disappeared, they went to golf, the other ones died, and very, very difficult process. In the end, we gave the money to Zahiruddin Hoja. Please, you know, find whoever is the closest relative of these people, and he very gracefully did that. And Ronald Lukow, who later became an Aga Khan professor, he reviewed this project, and he said that this is a school for conservation of historic buildings, and that should be particularly accentuated by the jury, and he brought many pieces done by these people. And Baba Mosque was identified by a jury which was very much into postmodernity, and they took architecture rather lightly, and they thought that, you know, having bathroom tiles on the facade was a sort of big liberty. We had a lot of slabs from both from Pakistan and all over the world, and they said that this is not, you know, opulence, this is sort of aberration of architecture, and neither the social, economic existence nor the architectural reality would bring anything. So it was an opulent project, but it really didn't do much positive contribution to the award. And for years, when I say Aga Khan Award, you are the ones who are protecting Baba Mosque. And but that is life. And after this award had a very serious root correction, and perhaps we can have a session in following years to see the spectrum of the project and what it is. And here I would like you to give applause to Nair Dada. Nair Dada, with his Alhamra Center, he saved the award at Pakistan. And, because it was the kind of building, the contextual building, that the award has professed from its outset. You know, an architecture which is conversant with the culture, a material which is sympathetic to the people, and open spaces which are liberating people from various things. And this whole setting has become one of the sort of leading examples of dictum of the Aga Khan Award. Kudaki Basti project is also very interesting. It is it's a project which is enabling. You know, they ask people to come in whatever carriage they have, all their belongings, bring all their belongings and relatives with them. They put them on probation for a couple of days, they interview them and whatever. If the people are genuinely suffering from poverty and homelessness, they give them land and help them to build, then help them to engage themselves in auxiliary industries to do, you know, in garment production and whatever. And that has become more or less a model for many people who are interested in development and architecture. This is the basic plot plan, not very creative, but it must be definitely efficient. And at that time, you know, the Soviet Union has collapsed, and they suddenly saw the emergence of mushroom housing, informal housing, and this project and the authors led them tremendously. And there is nothing, you know, like a sort of good architecture that you can applaud, but it is a decent way of living, both economically, socially, and also some of the drainages and other problems of the environment were sorted out, and it is more or less a liberty of building. And last award ceremony was at Al Ain in Emirates, and you can see from Shalimar to Al Ain, design is sort of aged elegantly, and he still runs the award with great interest. The last chapter that I'm going to let you know, this is the establishment that I established, the World Architecture Community. It's free, completely free. There are no bureaucracies, no nothing. You can upload your projects and become a part of it, and you can download the projects, you become part of it. So anyone, when submitting the project, asks about the copyright and whether it can be protected or not. We say no. No, our website is not copyright protected. So if you don't allow everyone share it, don't send it. You know. But you know, 99% of the people send it, and we give awards to the buildings that are realized. The buildings are in the form of projects. Anything that would particularly be interesting to the wider public, they put there. For instance, students get angry with their professors, they put their projects there. And as long as the projects are clicked, they remain accessible. If they are not clicked, it just falls below. And many of them even get awards for that. So this is allowing the profession without any kind of categorization or anything, you know. And a student in Lahore College or Zaha Hadid are in the same bucket. And the evaluation process is not my invention, it's an invention in 1914 for a building in Istanbul. The winners of the previous cycles are the jury and our consultancy committee. So in other words, whenever someone gets World Architecture Award, he also becomes a member of the jury. And I should not brag it much, but it is, I think, one of the most democratic sites. We don't take any advertisements because we think that we cannot put an important idea and put bathroom tiles or closets next to it. You know, we think that we more or less deny building industry, but we allow the people who have architects on the drawing board. You know, that is one sort of exception we make. I don't know how long people survive, but definitely as long as I'm here, it will survive. I put all my connections there, from the Aga Khan, about 10,000 people, from the UIA Congress, which I presided over, about 15,000, and my own files, about 5,000. And that established this community of architects, and sometimes we reach, not every time, but sometimes we reach clicks more than 1 million a month. And that proves to be that it has been accepted by the wider public of architects. And it just, these awards run once in every 4 months. And the nominations come more or less automatically by uploading the projects. When they remain on the top 100, we put them and present them to the jury. And I would like you to participate in that. And when you go there, you will see that participation to this website of community website, and you will see that the subcontinent is very widely represented there. And the buildings are of usually one strong originality that takes it, and that originality, as it interests the community or the jurors or the voters, they get a award. And I just gave you the last 2 cycles of the winning projects, 1 image each. And what I couldn't do, where I played a major role in the first cycles, I was a member of the super jury, World Architecture Festival. In World Architecture Festival, there are teams, 26, 30 teams, and each team has a jury of 3 people, and they select one project, and those 26 projects come to a super jury, as they call it. And in super jury, they usually have people like Charles Jenks and Ken Gokuma and people of that sort. You can here see some of the characters who served on the jury, Masmijana Fuksas and Phyllis Lambert and whomever you recognize, and Hani Rashid, people like that. And in the end, one project is selected as the Building of the Year. And Building of the Year means that we gave it in 2008 to University of Luigi Bocconi in Milan, because it's a university, but it's like a city. It has all the components of the city within this university. Now the authors of that, Shelley and Yvonne, are the 2 persons who are the chief creators of the Venice Biennale this year. So I think this is a great success for the role of females in architectural stuff. The other thing that I was instrumental, I was invited to participate in a lecture in Cityscape. Cityscape was a big real estate fair. And I said, if you allow me to talk about investing in historic property, I can talk. They said, no, we are not interested. I said, okay, then I won't talk. And in less than a week, they came to me and said that, look, the committee is sort of intrigued. You can come and talk. I was talking about, historic property, how we invested, how important that is. And in the front row, I don't mean you, but then there were the people who destroyed were there, and they were nodding their head. And then in following years, as you know, they refabricated the environment which they inadvertently or unintentionally destroyed. And in Cityscape, there are many, many projects. We don't have that much time. But in Cityscape, basically, when I was there, I worked there for more than 8 years. I removed architecture from real estate, so architectural conference was separate. And we went and invited the main leaders of architecture worldwide. and had this conference there, and it is still running, but I just sensed that it was getting more commercial, and scale is huge, and the time it demands tremendously. So since last year onwards, I am not participating to the cityscape competitions. That's all I have. 45 minutes I wholeheartedly thank you. So I don't know what the chairman says, whether there are questions.
The house is now open for question-answer session, so if it takes a few questions.
Okay.
Dr. Suha, I must congratulate you for taking us on this wonderful journey. It's really not a question right now, but I thank you for giving us this opportunity to visit this wonderful years of architecture that you've shown us. I was just interested to know when was the first, your first meeting with the Khan? How did you meet the Khan first in your journey?
This is very, very personal, but there is no harm sharing it. I was in the university, and our universities, if you don't seize power, you cannot do anything. So we were 5 intelligent people, intelligent, quotations. We were all young. We thought that we should aim at the critical junctures of the university. So one of us became the associate dean, other one became the member of the publishing committee, the third one became the internal evaluation thing, and we had also other committees in the university. And we took part in that, and then with the success of that, I was also brought as the president of the staff union, and I was very young. No need to say I was only 30 years old when I was elected to the council and the staff union. And Turkey was going tremendous turmoil, unbelievable. And they made me the vice president of the university with the most explosive students. And I thought that I can do it, as long as you don't close the dialogue between students and the management, then the upper management is your responsibility. I went to the army and all the people, gendarmerie and whatever. I said, as soon as there is something illegal, first come to me. Let me solve. If I cannot solve, you can come with your forces. By the time you come, I'll be gone anyway. And with that, it created something. And Aga Khan Award, after Renata Holod's returning back to university, she got her tenure. They were searching for someone, and Said Zulfikar was identified, and they proposed me his position. I said I won't take it. And because they were searching for an architect who had a management experience, very simple quotation, and preferably third worlder, and I was there. And then we started discussions. I said basically architecture cannot be informed by faith. Architecture can be informed by geography, and architecture can be traditional or modern, high-tech, low-tech, beautiful, ugly, and all these things. These are all architecture qualifications, but you cannot qualify architecture by faith. And they said, okay, come and share this with the steering committee. And that steering committee you have seen from Sharif Hassan to Charles Correa and to Hassan Fethi is very firm. And they understood, so they gave me the title. I said, I'm not interested in Said Zulfikar's position because I would not take a position which is occupied, that's not my type. And then we worked together with Said, wonderful friendship. And Said was interested in history, and he disliked modern architecture, unbelievably. So he said, that's yours, you know, whatever. And at the basis of that, we expanded the outreach of the award. Because when you don't precondition architecture by faith, we never ever use, after my tenure, Islamic as an adjective. We put architecture for Muslim communities. So that we put Islam on the beneficiary side, not on the political side, because Islamic has a political sort of connotations. Of course, His Highness allowed me to do this. You know. Then the whole world opened. You know, India was not an Islamic country, but it had the largest Muslim population. You know, and very difficult to embrace. And after they appointed me, when Said left, he went back to UNESCO. He said that please don't search for anyone. You know, this guy has been doing it. Just give him the title. So I became the Secretary General of the award, and His Highness kept me. You know, I think it's sheer luck because it's not an easy job. Because when you have 500 nominations and give 10 awards, you end up with 490 broken hearts, and you have to deal with them, and you have to do it professionally. And in the end, you know, some friendships arise, and we cherish those things. And there was one here, you know, he was one of the very strong criticizers, very creative criticizer. You know, Parvez Vanna, we corresponded for years, and now I'm here.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? Okay, no questions. We'll have the answers later. Thank you.